Okay, so I want to preface this video with something nice, okay? And it is that whatever is said in this is something you will have to sort out for yourself energetically and emotionally and subconsciously, as is the case with all things, and as was the case for me and many people who engaged in this sort of philosophy. But I want to talk about what hell is today. Because it's dawned on me that hell can be defined as or boiled down to very simple three, maybe a couple more, but let's say for now three things. One of those things is, of course, sorry about that, survival mode. Survival mode is a mode of life wherein you think that, or you presuppose that it's gonna go to shit, right? And you're just gonna hang in there. You're always a bit hopped up. So it's about hanging in there. It's about there being a prescient feeling always present with you, where you don't feel relief most of the time. You feel like today you have to fend for your supper, or tomorrow you will not be here, or you will suffer, or your children will, right? Insert whatever extrapolation of this. So this is survival mode. The antithesis of survival mode is, of course, thriving. In Sweden, there's a nice saying, trivs du? That means thrives you. So people ask you that when you come to work and you're new. They're like, thrives you? And you're like, yeah, but you're not really thriving, right? You're just fucking surviving, but whatever. Point is, thriving is the antithesis of survival. So survival mode is hell. Remember, hell can be very fun. Hell is not just suffering, but it is a sort of hopped upness. It's a prescience. Second thing to me that hell is actually um, uh, death, and more specifically the fear of death replacing where center should be. Center is a quality. It's a quality in many schools and disciplines, but it's a quality. It's a cool, breezy, horizontal, open quality to do with meditation, to do with all a variety of disciplines. But it's a quality. When many of the masters said, "Raise your eyes and see the light." This is what I would gather they meant. So, by, for example, making the story about Jesus and the crucifixion, as was made by the Romans and the so-called editors of said story after this, by placing Jesus on the cross and making it about death and suffering, a very important and very foundational symbol of the cross, which is a multi-directional alchemical symbol of both the vertical energetic quality, the horizontal energetic quality, alchemical stages of transmutation and refinement, etc. But most importantly, it's a symbol of center, right? Of balance. And when you associate that in today's culture with a symbol of death and suffering, and specifically something that you ought to sort of go ooh at, then you may have a problem. And so false beliefs are, like Bashar says, this is really true. It's very easy to dip into like positivity bias and maybe the law of attraction and the secret and all that, which has reality to it, but also it becomes cringe. But false beliefs, if you go deep down into the energy, there are strings. They are like energetic blocks that want to deceive you, maybe are not there, but then when you look into it, if you breathe into it, if you're in trance or meditation and you see to it, you see that there's a belief. It's not necessarily a worded belief, but it's a belief. You're like, oh yeah, the cross is not a dangerous thing that I should associate with suffering, right? The cross is a symbol of centeredness and of upbringing and encouragement, actually. And moreover, maybe is it just neutral? So it's important to always check the false beliefs that may be hiding in people, especially in a day and age of media, multimedia, virtual reality, MK Ultra, psyop, narrativization of politics, etc. Check your beliefs, because the fear of death replacing the quality of center is indeed very foundational to thriving and not being in hell. So it's very healthy, I'd say, to look into that. And the third thing is, interestingly enough, objectification of women. The third thing that makes up one being in hell is, I would say, the objectification of women, the pornification of flesh, of the archetype of the mother, of woman. Why is this? Because sex has snuck into the head. Sex belongs in the body. If sex sneaks into the head, into thought, then it becomes a satellite to reality. Sex is supposed to happen, supposed to. Take it or leave it. You know, this is what I gather. Okay, but sex is to happen from a sort of natural pull between polarities, not from you thinking, oh, I would like to, get it on. Um, and again, everybody has to sort this out for themselves, because it may be that there is a good and cool quality and a righteous quality to the desire for intimacy, proximity, sex, right? But pornification is something else. Pornification is a sort of bastardization, a sort of what would you say, a golemization, a satellitization of the physicality. It's an assault on the mother archetype too, because porn objectifies to a point where all of sort of physical and flesh reality runs risk of becoming something that registers horniness, right? This is why objectification of women could sort of make existence into a hellish one, right? Um, I remember a cool thing Andrew Huberman said once, which I don't, I always take those things with a grain of salt, but I still, respectable conversation that the man is putting forth. He was on Joe Rogan and he said that prior to taking MDMA, he only felt things in the crotch and in the head. So he felt emotions only in the crotch, in the pelvis, perineum, and in the head. And then he took MDMA and he realized that all of his torso was now a vessel for feeling emotions. And I thought this was so fascinating. I have experienced similar things. And I think a lot of guys especially are, where they feel, especially in the high season, they feel the pull. They're not necessarily thinking about sex, but they're feeling the pull of, copulation, desire, the perineum, and it's stuck in the perineum, in the groin, in the crotch, unable to rise to the heart center and become love, like a good flute should. And I think this is very important. Okay, so I think both of these things are blockages. Again, you have to sort this out for yourself, right? This is something that I think a lot of people will just naturally intuit when they hear it. But thinking about sex, objectifying women, objectifying people, it doesn't have to be heterosexual, right? Is actually something that in the end raises the elemental fire, which is a real thing. Let's remember, it's not a metaphor. It's a real thing. It raises elemental fire to the head. In Western science, inflammation is a big word these days. And I would say, as far as inflammation causes overthinking, but overthinking causes inflammation. And someone who is thinking about porn or objectification of the human body onto sex, I'd say is someone who practices a form of overthinking. This person is, maybe they wouldn't put it like this, and far be it for me to put words into people's mouths, but I'd say that this is a form of hell. Again, hell, not necessarily a boring place. A lot of people love hell. There are many great poems about how fun hell is. Zbigniew Herbert from Poland, a poet, wrote a good poem about how Beelzebub, aka Satan, loves and supports and gives stipends to his artists. And I see what he means. Hell is not a boring place. This is part of the problem with hell, right? This is part of the problem with hell. But I hope this made sense, because it does make a lot of sense to me. And I would like to epilogue it with saying that at the end of the day, I do these talks because I like to. I am this type of communicator. This is not meant to constitute truth. You have to sort yourself out energetically, emotionally, and subconsciously. And it will mean something else to you once you do. Okay? But look, life is very beautiful once you are thriving, once you are at least majorly out of hell, you are thriving. All of this becomes beautiful decoration. Life is beauty, life is truth. Beauty is truth. Truth is not always beauty. Okay.